Adios.
Been okay. So I had been associated with Engineers India Limited as well, and after that I worked in Singapore in Frost and Sullivan. So there I was advising the renewable energy sector clients and the various country governments in the Southeast Asian region. Then I joined IBM, been with IBM in several roles. I worked across industries. It was energy and utilities and the various other industries as well. And right now I am working as a director for them to take care of the of the alliance business at a global level. So let me try to share my screen so that I can start with my presentation. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so
आ रहा है स्क्रीन आ रहा है
जी सर, मैं बस इसका पावर पॉइंट का देख रहा हूँ। एक मिनट सर।
मैंने पासवर्ड दोबारा भेजा आपको
हाँ सर, पासवर्ड तो नहीं मांग रहा। आई एम हाँ, बस ये एक बार ये देख रहा हूँ कि फुल स्क्रीन आ जाए। हाँ, ओके ओके। कैन यू सी माई स्क्रीन सर?
या वेरी वेल
Okay, right. So in today's session, I think I would primarily focus on the basic introduction of generative AI, because this is a new buzzword in in today's industry, and you would be hearing a lot about it in magazines, newspapers, blogs, social media, but very few of us understands the basic nuances of it. And for the purpose of this particular session, I would assume that amongst the audience we would have different levels of understanding. So I would keep it to a non-technical level. What a typical business person or a layman should know about generative AI, and what are the new use cases which are actually coming up in the energy and then utilities industries. And when I say utilities, it's right from generation, transmission, distribution. So it basically covers both the renewable side of it along with the non-renewable as well. So with that background, let me start off with a brief introduction about the Gen AI as a concept itself. So as basically sir had mentioned that generative AI is a particular subset of the broader AI capabilities. So first of all, we need to understand that AI is not new. It has been there since decades. It has been in the form of, let's say, machine learning capabilities, or the algorithms, or the natural language processing and so on. But then this entire field has been really evolving a lot. Basically, so this a particular subset of AI, which we basically call as Gen AI, it learns from existing artifacts to really generate new realistic artifacts at a scale. And the new artifact, it really reflects the basic characteristics of the underlying foundational data sets. So the key difference between Gen AI and a normal AI would be that Gen AI, as the name suggests, can create new content. It can generate new different type of formats and structured data on its own. And that's where the key value of Gen AI lies, that we are able to create that new content and really use it for our own purpose. Uh, there are large language models which are also called as LLMs. So you would hear a lot about different type of LLMs whenever Gen AI is being really talked about. So the large language models are the underpinning of of the Gen AI. And basically building a large language model is a huge effort in itself. It requires so a lot of computation power. It requires a lot of energy in the data centers. It's a very expensive affair. So for example, when the chat GPT was launched, each query which we feed in as a user, it costs a bomb to the parent company. They are as of now, they are, really trying to, absorb all the cost. But I think that's the reason why the new age, companies, the chat GPTs or the OpenAI and so on, they are being sold off to the bigger companies because they are not able to sustain all that cost. So it's so it's an expensive affair to really develop and run all the Gen AI LLMs or the Gen AI foundational models. So now that is very important practical aspect which we need to understand about this particular technology. And this technology can produce a lot of novel content across different formats, be it images, videos, music, speech, text, software code, or the different type of product designs. Now let me show you one more slide around the basic introduction, because once we are clear of the basics of Gen AI, then a lot of things in the slides ahead will start making sense to you in terms of how they can be applied to the energy industry. So, uh, so the LLMs can be of different type, and they can give output on different sets of data. So, for example, you can summarize a lot of documentation, or you can create a lot of customer facing, let's say, marketing briefs just by feeding in, let's say, 100 PDFs into a LLM. It can give you a summary and a new content generated based on the foundational data set. So that's the tech side of it. Then we have the code, wherein Gen AI models can really generate the actual computational code across the different languages like C, C++, Java, Python, and so on. And I think that's where there has been a fear of a lot of job losses in the IT industry, because the entry level software jobs are being threatened increasingly. Then we have the field of audio, wherein the new audio which can be really fed into the chatbots. Those basically can be generated, and a new field of conversational AI has been really coming up. Then we have the field of images. There are several AI websites wherein you can just type in, for example, give me an image of me sitting in in the rising sun, and it will create a natural looking image of yours sitting in the sunrise at Bali. So it's that power of these large language models. Then similar to image, we have specific video content or the 3D images, wherein we can generate the entire 3D maps based on the foundational data set. So it's these formats which are being now plugged and play, and the users and the enterprises are now trying to create the different use cases aligned to their business problems in terms of how to solve their pain points. Uh, Now, as I had mentioned on the slide one, that this has not been, something like very, very new. So AI has been there right from the beginning. And in fact, from 2014 onwards, AI had started understanding the, contextual meaning of words. As in, so for example, as a human, if I use the word optimization, then optimization can have different meaning based on the, context which I use. In a energy sector, it can mean a different thing, but in terms of a balance sheet, it can mean a different thing. I mean, so in terms of the actual work which needs to be done. So AI's so the AI algorithm started understanding these specific nuances then. From 2017 to about in 2022, the foundation of large language models was laid. And increasingly, the researchers started working on the large language models. There were, in fact, a lot of Indians in the US who were, behind the, behind the, foundational work of, creating those large language models. In as recent as 2022, just 2 years back, the first foundational model, which was basically called as Chat GPT, as we all know, which was launched. And that's where the main buzz was created, because I and you as a layman user can now start interacting with AI. We just need to type in a simple query. So so for example, give me a presentation on the engagement of Samta power in the renewable energy. And based on its analysis of all the documents which Samta power might have online, it will give you a very good summary in the next 2 pages. So So now that's the power of the LLMs. And at the same time, I think it so it also shows that that it is rapidly becoming and really evolving, from a general purpose, technology, which can be basically compared to, so for example, steam engine, electricity, and internet. So there is a lot of hype right now around it. But with time, maybe in the next few years, so this hype will, settle down, and the analysts in the market, predict that actual use cases will start growing. The enterprises and people will start adopting very, very narrow use cases in terms of how they can address the specific pain points, considering the huge costs. Now, one more important aspect which we need to understand before we dive into the actual use cases is that what are the business outcomes the enterprises really look for, like across industries, be it a energy and a utility industry, wherein, so for example, a generation company, what are the business parameters or business outcomes they will really focus on? They can range from really reducing the cost by as much as minimum 30%. They will reduce on growing the revenue through revenue stream. How to increase the process efficiency and the basic in the workflows and the specific processes in an organization, right from generation till the final output. And then how to have that generative capability deployed so that this from the foundational data which is really flowing through all the sensors in the plant, the various data sets around the people who are actually working there. So how to generate those actionable insights and actual recommendations to improve the lives of those people and the actual assets in the plant. Um, Based on the so the analysis by Cognizant, they really predict that within the next decade, just in utilities industries, they expect the market potential of the Gen AI applications to grow to about close to about $9 billion. That's a very, very stupendous growth, considering the fact that the market has just started year and a half back. And the major focus, will be, initially on the, operational segments, wherein, how to, improve the basic transmission and the, distribution. And then there, subsequently, we will see a lot of focus around, how to improve the specific customer experience, improved asset management, and the new, business applications. Now let's focus on the industry use cases. And I mean, there is a lot of industry, literature on this. This is not an exhaustive list. You will see, 10 more use cases, which are rapidly evolving. But I try to summarize, some of the very important key use cases which we all should know, which are the foundational use cases, because these are being worked by the different enterprises globally, and especially in the US and in Europe. Many of the power sector companies, especially in the renewable energy side of it, they are trying to adopt some of the Gen AI applications. It's still at a very early stage, and why I will speak about it later. But let's try to focus on some of these key use cases and try to understand that what lies beneath. Now, in terms of idea evaluation and the refinement side of it, I think what we need to understand is that Gen AI tools really help us, aggregate all the raw data. It can be process gaps, logs, defects, the historical data, procedure files, the specifications, the regulatory, documentation across the different agencies of, government. And it can really combine and merge all these, large set of documentation to produce the best idea for a specific problem.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So for example, Gen AI can consume large ideas fed into the training model and produce a best sequence for a specific business process, optimizing both the cost and the time. In terms of the improved, customer
Yeah.
the Gen AI can generate a load profile for the service technicians, and it can provide relevant information to the customers based on the historical data, the energy usage, the patterns in the weather, in terms of the changing weather patterns, and the family
And the
side.
family side.
So based on understanding of the actual user data, which it can really recommend a lot of improvements and a lot of suggestions for the customers. It can facilitate an open dialogue between customers and the data, which which will support their utility needs, and it will build a very strong relationship between the company and the consumer. Now, in terms of asset optimization, I think Gen AI can work on the existing data set, because now, in the utility plants, or in the energy sector, we have a lot of, sensors, or the IoT devices which are being embedded onto the, machines and on the, relay networks. So Gen AI can work on all that data, and it can provide the live asset information and the engineering knowledge to help the, technicians understand the, asset history, or the engineering manuals, or the manufacturing specifications. It can even act as a very, very intelligent, chatbot for the technicians to access and understand the, transmission and, distribution assets much more effectively. In fact, these intelligent, chatbots, are well versed in terms of human speech. I mean, you will not realize that you are, talking to a chatbot and not a person. So, they are as much, fluent in their, conversation with you, and they can provide much more holistic and the empathetic responses than a traditionally, chatbot. Then in terms of the maintenance operations, I think that's where there is a lot of application of Gen AI models. So these Gen AI models can generate, and they can follow rules and inputs. They can all these inputs can include a lot of work order statuses, or the schedules of the crews, the weather patterns, the asset inspection histories, or the circuit diagnostics, the public safety needs, and the manufacturer recalls. All of these different type of data sets can be fed into these models, and it will basically come up with recommendations for the maintenance operators to create an inspection schedule for the efficient routines and the overall emergency maintenance. Then a very unique use case which has been evolving a lot is around the drone data processing. So we heard about applications of drone mostly in the military sense, especially in the Russian-Ukraine war, or the different type of drones which DRDO has been working on, or the US has been working on. But then there are a lot of industry applications which are being developed around the new age of drones. Basically, with the growing interest in Gen AI, utilities are now increasingly using drones to streamline the field and processes, and improve the data capture. Blending these two new technologies can give utilities a very efficient way to manage assets on the field. Doing the remote inspections, really collecting data for the restoration purpose, and also mitigating the different type of weather risks. Specifically, Gen AI can be used along with a post processing engine to really demarcate the basic information which drones are now capturing in the field. And through the help of Gen AI, we can really summarize all the data which the drones are capturing, and create a plan of action, or the support plan for the field. So it is especially in the US, this use case is really picking up a lot, and many of the generation companies, they are now actively working on this. Then the other use case is around the failure mode analysis. Now, what it really means is that how do we mine the unstructured information which the different type of engineers or drones really capture from the field visits, pictures, or the historical data, to identify those specific critical conditions that can signal potential field equipment failures. So for example, a particular plant can have, or an equipment can have a damaged conductor or dampener. It can have a loose kind of a cotter pin, or it can be a vegetation encroachment. So all of these things can be deduced through the help of Gen AI models, if we have fed that information in the foundational training data. If the underlying data set knows that these type of problems can occur, it can automatically identify that on these equipments, on these assets, there is a risk of all these issues. And it can also suggest the due remedies and the maintenance schedules to the support field. So it introduces a lot of transparency, efficiency, and and also accountability, because now the actions are being assigned by the machine to the right set of engineers, and they need to be actually completed in a stipulated amount of time. Uh, then then the other use case is around the automated energy use advisor, and it goes much beyond the concept of smart meter, because here Gen AI can help analyze a lot of claim data or the prior authorization. It can really try to understand the patterns around an individual user's electricity use, uh, you know in the EVs, how the batteries are being used, the EV usage, or the solar household consumption. So it can really process all this data in terms, so for example, uh, how is the workload which you are kind of generating through your solar panels in the house, how it is being used at different points of time during the day and night. When does the AC typically operate? When is the peak load with respect to your house? All this data and patterns can be churned through the Gen AI models at scale, and they can give you the high quality recommendations to the individual customers to help reduce them the electricity bills. So now just imagine that if our Rajasthan State Electricity Board, if they have certain Gen AI models kind of deployed, and if on a monthly basis we get those recommendations on our screen or on our mobile through SMS, that you can optimize your energy uses by just following these three things, and those three things will be different for each house. So how much customer satisfaction would increase, how much trust and credibility you will have in the government system. So no, all of this can be enabled through the application of the Gen AI models without the human intervention. So it may not involve a lot of labor services behind, but a lot of technology applications. So it can answer things like, how should I consume, how do I consume, when should I consume, and what is my consumption life cycle. Then the next use case is around the risk based means yeah, replacement, in terms of when we get the data that these assets in the manufacturing plant or in the generating plant or in the windmill, for example, they are at risk. This motor is at risk, and it is and it can burn out in the next 24 hours. So all of that will give you a replacement schedule. The field would know that these assets are the high priority assets. These are subjected to the different type of risk, for example, customer, environment, health, safety, and so on, and what actions can be taken. The actions can also be laid out sequentially through the help of the Gen AI models. Of course, there can be a human to review all these decisions and the recommendations and improve further, but then the initial draft of all these recommendations can be made through the actual Gen AI models. And then there is this smart back office intelligence. So since basically Gen AI can automatically extract the relationships, insights from the from the textual data, for example, the policy documents, procurement contracts, HR policies, financial documents like balance sheets, P&Ls, training content, electricity literature, salaries, benefits, pensions, all kind of different data sets. It may not relate to just the asset part of it. It can be people in the organization or their different support functions. All of that can be combined, and a user can simply enter a search query that so for example, I can just enter as an admin of that data. If I just ask that if Shubham is an employee in this organization, what is his productivity in the past month. So all of that data can be analyzed by a Gen AI model, and it can give a complete log of how Shubham has been working in the past month, what specific tasks he has worked on, and how he can improve his basic performance in the next month. All of that can be worked through through the help of technologies. And then as basically Sir had mentioned earlier, it has a lot of scope of so there's a grid management and the improvement side of it. how we really optimize around the grids, because we keep on hearing a lot about the so the energy losses with the increasing adoption of the renewable energy sources like solar and wind power. Grids are increasingly becoming much more complex. They require real-time adjustments to balance the supply and demand. So Gen AI can play a significant role in enhancing the grid management by actually predicting a lot of energy generation and the consumption patterns with remarkable accuracy. So even before it happens, it can give you a recommendation or a forecast of this will be the future load which you can expect. So for example, eastern part of Jaipur, and based on that load, which is kind of in turn based on the past historic data, the engineers or the system can take action in terms of either increasing or reducing the actual supply. Gen AI models can analyze a lot of historical data, weather patterns, real-time data from sensors, smart meters, the grid infrastructure, and the customer interaction to generate those kind of forecasts to make the informed decisions. Uh, then it can also help in accelerating the renewable energy research, because this is a very hot topic. This has been a very kind of hot topic since more than a decade, and as a result of it, globally, this industry has made a lot of progress in terms of huge innovations coming in. So the Gen AI models can take all this data in terms of the different R&D work which has been going on across the globe. It can really feed in itself a lot of this different type of spatial R&D data from the different institutes, and can start really simulating and optimizing the various aspects of the energy production. So, it can help, bring together a lot of, different streams of work which are, happening globally, and start recommending the right set of, output, or the, innovative way to advance the research. Uh, so, for example, researchers can use the GAI to, model wind and solar farm efficiency, under the different weather, conditions. It can help in the, design of much more productive and the cost-effective, renewable energy installations. Um, and then, once you really start getting all these insights and recommendations, new ideas can also come up, because Gen AI, by its very meaning, it tries to generate new content, new insights, or new inferences based on the underlying data. So it can also help give rise to new business models in the energy sector. What can be the new services which can be offered to the customers? How can we serve the customers best? How can we optimize best, and so on.
Mr. Subham,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Subham, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please take up.
Yeah.
The staff, please, lecture. We'll take up the question. Let him finish.
Okay, sure. Fine, sir.
Okay.
So I will just maybe take 10 more minutes, and then we will
Please
just
take
open
your
it up
time.
for questions.
Please take your time.
Sure, sir. So this is a very good mapping which has been given by an industry expert, and it tries to show that which are the high opportunity or the high applicability areas. So the dark blue which you see on this slide, it shows you that through the supply chain of a typical energy industry, where we can see the immediate application. So the dark blue ones would be kind of captured at the earliest. There are immediate use cases, and there is an active work kind of going on. Uh, the lighter blue, so for example, asset management work and management, field force management, all of these are the next best use cases. They require some more work. The industry is kind of prioritizing them, but they are like phase two. And then, due to the inherent complexity of implementing that use case through the Gen AI models, you would see the light blue or the white boxes, wherein the industry feels that there is not a lot of application. So, for example, in the supply chain and the procurement side of it, balancing and settlements, and then all the white boxes, because there might be some applications, but the industry is yet to see a cost effective use case of Gen AI, and they have better use cases to address in the near term. So that's where I think we need to understand that there is a pattern. Right now, Gen AI is focused towards the retail side of it in the energy industry. There is a lot of work which will go in the enterprises also. So, for example, in the transmission and in distribution as well, and it has started. But the immediate opportunity area is the retail side of it, because that's where it adds a lot of value in terms of churning out all the user data and recommending based on the user needs. Now we have kind of talked about all the positive things about Gen AI, that it can do this, it can do that, but you will also in the media you will also hear that it may not be living up to the buzzword. I mean, there are a lot of challenges to Gen AI as well. They will kind of tell you 10 different problems with the Gen AI things, and I think that's true for any evolving technology throughout the history. You pick up any specific technology. In fact, Gartner, who is the leading industry analyst, they so they have this entire hype cycle of a technology, that every new product or a service goes through this initial adoption phase. Then there is a hype around it, and then it really matures, and then the hype dies down and the industry becomes much more mature. And it's true since decades, since ages, and Gen AI is no kind of exception to it. So we would see a similar pattern to that. And right now is it's in the hype phase, that slowly the buzz has been created. There is a lot of interest in the market. Enterprises are trying to explore what it is, but they are also realizing that it's not as rosy as they would expect. There is a limitation of the existing LLMs. There is there are existing challenges which they need to understand while implementing the Gen AI. So, for example, lack of transparency. So Gen AI and the Chat GPT models are sometimes very kind of unpredictable. They are a black box to you. You don't know what's really happening underneath. What are the different algorithms behind it. You as a user will start using, but you don't know that what kind of technological nuance is there behind, let's say Chat GPT versus Google's and Gemini, or Microsoft Bard. So the different LLMs can have very different set of technologies underlying. There can be software codes which are very different, and they will do different type of work. So the users or the enterprises need to understand that what they are really working with. And right now there is no straightforward way of kind of telling this, and the industry standards around this are still emerging. Then accuracy. Of course, I think this has been a very kind of I would say a hugely talked about in a topic, that many a times you will feed in a query, and at two different times it can give you two different outputs. uh, or if you ask the same question in a different language, you may get a different output. So there is a lack of accuracy in these systems. So there is still a lot of scope of human intervention. For example, you may just go into Chat GPT and ask them that give me a brief of the key challenges which the Indian power sector faces, or the so the Indian wind generation ecosystem phases, and it will give you its output in in the next 2 pages. But then there might be some of the basic repetitions which you will find. It may have some inaccuracies in terms of really reconciling the data from different sources, or picking up data from some of the not so inaccurate sources or the fraud sources on the internet, because the underlying model doesn't know the basic credibility of that source. So someone needs to assess all the outputs for accuracy, the appropriateness, actual usefulness, before actually implementing it. Then a very important aspect of all the AI models, which has been there since ages, this is not new, is about bias. That many of these models have an inherent bias in terms of what you feed in. So, for example, I will give you a very simple example. Let's say I feed in the HR data of 100 employees in an organization to a LLM. Now, if I feed the data for, let's say, 100 female employees, uh, and the data set doesn't know about it, then it will have that bias in terms of, let's say, if I ask him that what is the leave pattern for this set of employees. So the model will start giving recommendation based on what it sees for all the female employees. Now if I replace this data with the male employees data set, which may not have taken a lot of maternity leaves, you will get a different set of recommendations. But when I as a user use it as a black box, I don't know what kind of training data has been fed into this, and I may just use the output as a standard guidance for all the users. So that's a very important aspect we need to understand, is that output from an AI model or a Gen AI model carries the biases of the underlying data. So we need to understand the underlying data before really analyzing the actual output. Then there is a very big problem of IP and the copyright, especially with respect to Gen AI. You simply can't use it and just copy paste the things around, because there has been a lot of talks about this aspect, especially in the creative industries, because a lot of music albums, uh, the video industry, movie industry is really struggling with this, because a lot of creative artists, they feel that their work will be threatened, and their work is being used, and means normal layman people are just really using the LLMs to generate some new content, leveraging some of the actual copyrighted material. So no, there are no legal guidance around this per se. Still, there is a lot of work which needs to be done in terms of data protection, the data governing standards, and how it needs to be implemented. And right now, the output needs to be analyzed by a human to understand if it has not been plagiarized, and if it is acceptable to use it from a public point of view, or in an enterprise, and they are not infringing on any kind of data privacy policy, so that enterprises can face huge fines in the future if they don't take care of these facts, and it can run into millions and billions of dollars. So these are some of the challenges. And then, of course, like with any other technology, cyber security and fraud. So Gen AI is also not kind of aloof from these risks. The enterprises must prepare for the malicious actors' use of Gen AI systems for cyber and the fraud attack. So, for example, using those deep fakes for social engineering of personnel, or during the time of elections, and ensuring the specific mitigation controls are actually put in place. So I think I'll stop at this, because it though in my brief 30-35 minute presentation, I've tried to cover a lot of content, but I've tried to keep it simple just for our understanding. So let me take a pause and ask if you have any specific questions, and based on my limited understanding, I will try to answer.
Yes, sir. I want to ask one question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. You know
No.
that in RE generation, particularly in solar,
Mhm.
the natural generation shape is in bell shape, right?
Right.
Now I want AI application in such a way that if I want to utilize the creep, or say crest of that bell shape, and draw a rectangle so that the unfilled part can be fed from the battery, and the extra generation which I am getting can be used as a charging of battery, so
Right.
that solar output I can get straight curve for say 6 hours or 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is possible?
Yes, sir, it is. And and I mean, I would not say that that we have a actual existing solution around this, but the work is is actually going on. So so the companies are now feeding a lot of the user consumption patterns, or the grid patterns into the Gen AI models, so that the Gen AI models can then actually kind of predict that at this point of time, uh, there so then the solar generation will be less, and it
Mm.
automatically activates the battery power to keep the power output linear. So so the recommendations will be through automated Gen AI systems based on the historical evaluations for that workload. So the enterprises are actually trying to address this.
Because this problem can solve the scheduling problem
Right. Sure. And
and many other operational problem for utility as well as for investor also, who is
right.
putting his money in solar power so that
Hmm.
he can schedule and give definite energy in a particular time frame.
No, absolutely. This is one of the very peculiar problem associated with solar power, or let's say wind power also, because many a times wind power also fluctuates with time, though there may be a periodicity to it. But then for a region also, the problem becomes very specific. So this scheduling problem, so the generation companies and the distribution companies are now working on this in terms of how to make the power output linear for the actual consumers, and match and then also marry it with the demand side of it, that
Right.
based on the demand fluctuation, how can we supply the right amount of power and store the rest of the power in the batteries in the interim. So so they are trying to marry all these things, and here Gen AI will be really useful, because it can consume all that data and give a very simplified set of output for the field engineers.
Uh, I have a question.
Ha, sir,
So
please.
I attended a webinar wherein Bhiwadi Industry said that he
Ji.
has increased his power generation from the renewable energy by use of AI. I just asked him, but how you use it, but he couldn't definitely explain me. But he said that we have increased the power generation from RE by use of AI. How does that happen?
So when we say RE, so what particular field of RE they were working on Bhiwadi
Solar,
mein?
solar.
Solar mein. Okay. Sir, I'm not sure like what use case they are working on, but I will also tell you that some of this work is at a very early stage. People may adopt let's say any kind of basic technology, and they will call it as that they have adopted AI. AI is sometimes more misused also. I mean misused in the sense that they may not be working with AI, but they are sold in the name of AI. So I'm just saying that they may have implemented the basic technologies which would have helped so for example, I'll give you an example that when we install the solar panels sometimes need to be moved as per the rotation of the sun or the specific weather conditions, and the so for example the cloudiness during the day. Now, how the Gen AI or the AI models can help is that based on let's say the last 1 year daily data or per second data, they can try to identify those patterns in terms of what specific angle we need to move, like every hour, or every 30 minutes for each of the solar panels on a custom basis, so that the power outputs becomes most optimal or maximum during that time of the day. And they would really forecast that for example in the month of May, on 1st of May, based on the historic data of last 5 years, at 12 p.m. we need to move the solar panel by so by about a degree. So all these recommendations can be automated, and then based on that the actions can be taken. So that will help you increase the actual power output from the solar panels. So that is one way, and then there can be many other ways to increase the power output. but I think we need to talk to the Bhiwadi people in terms of what specific aspect they have tried to address through the application of AI. AI can work on a lot of things to give the same output.
माथुर साहब आपका कुछ, माथुर साहब, गुनेश जी आपका कुछ क्वेश्चन है?
वो जो क्वेश्चन उन्होंने रेज किया था वो ये हमारा
है जी,
बैटरी चार्जिंग के बारे में जो क्वेश्चन रेज किया था,
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
वो हमारा क्वेश्चन है। ये सोलर एनर्जी का जनरेशन कैसे बढ़ाया जा सकता है,
अच्छा
वो आपने जवाब दे दिया।
बढ़िया
इसमें
जी।
एक प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट भी जरूरी है जनरेशन में। जनरेशन में जो आपका जो किस तरह से इसको एआई के इम्प्लीमेंटेशन से जनरेशन बढ़ाया जा सकता है,
राइट सर,
वो
बिल्कुल।
भी
नहीं सर, बिल्कुल। और सर आपने जैसे कहा कि जेन एआई के मतलब जो बेनिफिट है वो यही है कि वो आपको इट कैन, वो एक आपको फोरकास्ट दे सकता है बहुत ही टू अ वेरी गुड डिग्री ऑफ एक्यूरेसी बेस्ड ऑन द एनालिसिस ऑफ द पास्ट डेटा। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अभी सर मैं अग्रवाल साहब को भी यही चीज़ एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ कि अगर अपने को सोलर पैनल को कोई हाफ अ डिग्री से इतने बजे मूव मीन करते हैं, तो फिर हमें इस एंगल पर उस जो है पैनल से मैक्सिमम पावर मिल सकती है। तो ये अगर एक प्लांट में अगर अपने ऐसे 1000 पैनल लगे हुए हैं, so we will accurately know that for each of these panels, what will be the right angle at which we need to tilt at a particular time of day. Similarly, इसमें आप मीन्स अगर उससे मैक्सिमम मैंने पावर लेना है, तो आप उसको जब जब उसका मैक्सिमम पावर आ रहा है, तो उसका अगर हमारे पास स्पेयर बच रहा है, हमारे पास उसमें डिमांड नहीं है, तो जो कि अपने एआई मॉडल है वो एक्यूरेटली प्रेडिक्ट तो करने की कोशिश करेगा कि फॉर एग्जांपल तो वैशाली नगर से हमारे पास अभी इतनी अपने डिमांड नहीं आ रही क्योंकि बारिश हो गई है आज। तो अब इस केस में अगर यहाँ पर एक सोलर जो प्लांट से अगर सप्लाई आ रही, तो इन द इंटरिम इट विल ऑटोमेटिकली सेंड अ सिग्नल एंड इट विल स्टार्ट स्टोरिंग द पावर इनटू अ बैटरी। तो उससे वो पावर कंजम्पशन आपका ऑप्टिमाइज होगा, और पावर जनरेशन जो प्रोफाइल होगी, दैट विल बिकम मच मोर लीनियर।
दूसरा मेरा एक प्रश्न है,
जी।
ये डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनीज जो लॉस में जा रही है,
जी सर।
टेक्निकल इंटरवेंशन फीडर इनोवेशन प्रोग्राम में सब तरह का कर दिए, और टेक्निकल इनोवेशन जितने भी करते हैं वो स्कीम बनाते वक्त पूरा वर्कआउट करते हैं कि ये अगर इम्प्लीमेंट हो जाएगा तो इतना परसेंटेज G&A लॉसेस कम हो जाएगा।
अच्छा।
लेकिन वो हो नहीं रहा है। व्हाट इज द रीजन? इसमें क्या एआई हेल्प कर सकती है इसमें?
सर आप कोई एग्जांपल दे,
क्योंकि
कोई?
इसमें जस्ट ऐसा है कि इंजीनियर्स को ब्लेम करते हैं कि भी वो काम नहीं करते, जब पूरी स्कीम के तहत इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो चुका है,
जी,
टेक्निकल इंटरवेंशन सिस्टम इम्प्रूवमेंट स्कीम्स जो भी लागू होती है, तो उसमें वर्कआउट करते हैं कि कितनी एनर्जी सेविंग होगी, ठीक है ना, पर हो नहीं रही वो। व्हाई इट इज सो मच डिफरेंस इन दैट, और लॉस बढ़ता ही जा रहा है।
राइट।
लॉस जो आज से 10 साल पहले
हाँ
मतलब 15% हो जाना चाहिए था,
जी,
वो आज भी नहीं हो रहा है।
राइट सर।
और टेक्निकल इंटरवेंशन दुनिया भर के हो गए हैं, तो इसमें एआई हेल्प कर सकता है क्या कुछ?
सर देखिए, एआई का जो बेसिक फाउंडेशन है वो होता है डेटा, राइट? तो
हाँ,
तो आपने मान लीजिए ना ट्रांसमिशन सर जो कि हो रहा है ना जनरेशन से लेके ना सप्लाई पे, तो ये सर डिमांड पे, तो देखिए हमने पूरे थ्रू आउट तो फॉर एग्जांपल सेंसर्स लगा दिए कि भाई ये जो हमारे ट्रांसमिशन के अंदर जो भी टावर्स हैं या जो भी लाइंस जा रही हैं, उसमें जो भी राइट सेट ऑफ जो हमें डेटा कलेक्ट करना है, which will start measuring, or the which will help in establishing the governance system, कि भाई पावर लॉस अगर हो रहा है तो कहाँ हो रहा है और क्यों हो रहा है। मतलब सबसे पहले हम प्रॉब्लम को तो ये जो कि समझें कि भाई अगर ये अपनी 1000 किलोमीटर की एक ना लाइन जा रही है, तो इसमें हमने ना डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टावर्स में डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ सेंसर्स, जो भी मतलब रिक्वायरमेंट है हमारी, उसके बेसिस पर अगर हम कहीं पे लगा रहे हैं, तो हमारे को उसमें ना पैटर्न देखने को मिले कि भाई ये वाले सेगमेंट में मैक्सिमम लॉसेस हो रहे हैं या यहाँ पर नहीं हो रहे, और ये वाले टाइम ऑफ द डे में हो रहे हैं। ये सब चीज़ों में आपका जो है सारा डेटा जो आपको ना कैप्चर करके चर्न करके पैटर्न निकालने का काम जो है, वो आपका एआई ना कर सकता है। कि वो इस डेटा को समझ के सारा आपको ये चीज़ है ना बता देगा कि भाई यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम है, यहाँ नहीं है, यहाँ पे ज़्यादा हो रही है ये वाले ना टाइम ऑफ द डे में, या फिर यहाँ पे ये वाली हो रही है। वो आपको वो जो कि ट्रांसमिशन लाइन में भी कोई अगर प्रॉब्लम है तो वो भी ना बता देगा, क्योंकि उसके पास पूरा हेल्थ की उसकी हिस्ट्री रहेगी। तो वो ये सब चीज़ें एनालाइज करके आपको में से ना गवर्नेंस के लिए एक एक रिकमेंडेशन दे सकता है कि आपके इस लाइन में ये ना ट्रांसमिशन एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन लॉस के ये वाले रीजंस हो सकते हैं। अब उसको एड्रेस करने के लिए सर जो मेजर्स लगे हैं ना, उसके बाद देन यू विल हैव टू डू पोस्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन रिपोर्ट अगेन। तो जो एआई का जो काम रहेगा वो बेसिकली उसको समझ के एनालाइज करके उसमें वो डेल्टा चेंज जो हुआ वो उसको बताएगा, और कहाँ पर प्रॉब्लम थी और वो सॉल्व हुई या नहीं, और अभी कहीं नई जगह पे तो नहीं आ गई प्रॉब्लम। तो वो ये सब चीजें चर्न करके बता सकता है। बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जो ह्यूमन इंटरफेस है जो उसे इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहा है और जो फाइनली उस पर एक्शन ले रहा है, उसके ऊपर भी बहुत कुछ ना दारोमदार रहेगा। तो ये सर टेक्नोलॉजी का रोल अलग है और ह्यूमन का रोल अलग रहता है इसमें।
ठीक। बोलिए साहब, आपको कुछ पूछना है? बोलिए साहब, बोलिए जी।
नहीं साहब, ठीक है, बहुत अच्छा रहा।
और लघु उद्योग के लोग हैं, उनसे पूछिए, आप पूछिए बोलिए जी, लघु उद्योग से आए हुए लोगों से।
और सर मैं एक चीज़ और ऐड है ना जो है ना करना चाहूँगा कि आई थिंक मतलब मैंने जितना इंडियन एंटरप्राइजेस के के साथ काम किया है, और मतलब ना काफ़ी बाहर की भी एंटरप्राइजेस के साथ काम किया है, एंड 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 नॉट इन ओनली इन दिस एनर्जी सेक्टर, जैसे बैंकिंग सेक्टर हो गया, टेलीकॉम हो गया। आई थिंक व्हाट वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट आई ऑलवेज ऑब्जर्व इज कि हमारे यहाँ पे अभी भी जैसे एक ना घोड़े के आंखों पर में ब्लिंकर्स लगे होते हैं, हम अभी भी वैसे ही चल रहे हैं। मतलब हम अपने बाहर की दुनिया से सीखना ही नहीं ना चाह रहे। और मैं ये बोलना चाहूँगा कि वर्ल्ड ओवर इतनी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, बहुत ही स्ट्रक्चर्ड सिस्टम्स इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं, बोथ इन रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, द नॉन रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, बी इट एआई नॉन एआई कुछ भी हो। बट ओवरऑल एनर्जी इंडस्ट्री में देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क विच हैज ऑलरेडी हैपेंड इन द मेच्योर मार्केट्स, जो हमें अभी तक ना पता भी नहीं है। और ये एज अ थॉट लीडर्स, हम जो एक ऑडियंस हैं यहाँ पर, हम लोग तो वी तो यू ऑल आर इंटेलेक्चुअल्स, मतलब आप लोग इस फील्ड के आप कि आप सब लोग बेसिकली एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, और आप इसमें जो 30 30 साल जो 40 40 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है। आई थिंक द सो यू कैन क्रिएट अ लॉट ऑफ वैल्यू व्हेन यू आल्सो लुक एट कि वर्ल्ड ओवर क्या इनोवेशंस हुए हैं जो कि एक्चुअली इंप्लीमेंट हुए हैं पिछले 8 10 सालों में। तो आप देखेंगे कि हम अभी उनसे बहुत ज्यादा पीछे हैं। और दोज नीड, मतलब वो चीजें जरूरी नहीं है कि वो इसमें मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स का इन्वेस्टमेंट लगे, या वही चीज अगर हम यहाँ पर इम्प्लीमेंट करने जाएं तो उसकी एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी नहीं होगी। समटाइम्स सिंपल इश्यू इसकी उसकी हमें अवेयरनेस ही नहीं है। और अगर हम वो चीजें अपने इंडियनाइज्ड वे में उन्हें तो इम्प्लीमेंट करने लगेंगे, तो we can save a lot, and then the and sometimes the solutions are very simple, but they simply exist somewhere else and we are not aware about them. तो आई थिंक मैं आप सबको यही एक तो थॉट के साथ इतना छोड़ना चाहूँगा कि आप मतलब ऑनलाइन जो आजकल इतना सारा लिटरेचर अवेलेबल है इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो भी आपकी स्पेसिफिक प्रॉब्लम हो, जैसे आपने कहा कि सोलर पैनल का मैं जो है पावर आउटपुट जो मिशन लीनियर अपने ना, तो जो ना कैसे करना चाहिए, इसके ऊपर बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्री एनालिस्ट और जो एक्चुअल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं वर्ल्ड ओवर जिन्होंने कि इम्प्लीमेंट करें सॉल्यूशंस, और जिन फर्म्स ने इम्प्लीमेंट करें, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर एक्सेंचर ने या फिर आईबीएम ने अगर इसके ऊपर काम किया किसी कस्टमर के लिए, तो वो लोग अपनी केस स्टडी ना पब्लिश करते हैं। कि मैंने ये वाले कस्टमर का कि ये चीज़ इंप्लीमेंट करी और उससे ये इम्प्रूव हुआ। तो उससे आपको जानने को मिलेगा कि इन्होंने एक्चुअल में करा क्या और इस चीज़ का सोल्यूशन एग्जिस्ट होता है या नहीं। तो ये सब चीज़ों से हम बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हैं एंड वी कैन मेक अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस टू आवर इंडियन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस। जस्ट अ स्मॉल थॉट।
थैंक यू शुभम। मैम जी रहते कहाँ है? सुमन जी यही है, निर्माण नगर में। निर्माण नगर में है क्या? बहुत ही इंटेलिजेंटली और बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से आपने जो एआई जो हमारे लिए और खास तौर से रिजनरेटिव एआई, हम तो सोच रहे थे पता नहीं ये क्या है। आपने जिस ढंग से इसको एक्सप्लेन किया और हमको बताया, और ये बताया कि भाई कैसे कैसे क्या क्या इसमें चैलेंजेस हैं, क्या क्या वो है। तो मैंने भी कुछ नोट किए थे, तो मैं भी ये बोलना चाह रहा था कि एक तो इसके चैटबॉट्स जो आपने एलएलएम बोल रहे थे, बहुत सारे
जी।
हम एलएलएम को समझते नहीं है, तो
हम्म।
एलएलएम को जो है चैटबॉट को बोलते हैं।
नहीं नहीं सर।
एलएलएम नहीं, एलएलएम इज डिफरेंट देन चैटबॉट्स।
राइट सर। सर मतलब एलएलएम तो बेसिकली डेटा सेट है। वो जो डेटा सेट को चर्न करने के जो कि अपने एल्गोरिदम्स हैं, जो तो जो सॉफ्टवेयर कोड है जो कि ये सारे को चर्न करके आपको आउटपुट देगा। चैटबॉट उसकी एक एप्लीकेशन है कि आपने मतलब जैसे कि आपने ना किसी वेबसाइट पे गए, वहां पर एक तो ये अपने पॉपअप आता है कि हाँ डू यू हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम। फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप अपने aubank.in पे जाओगे, तो aubank.in पे राइट साइड में एक उसमें एक तो ना पॉपअप आएगा कि हाँ आपकी तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है। अगर आप वहाँ पे लिखोगे कि मुझे ना 15G फॉर्म चाहिए एफडी का, तो वो आपको ऑटोमेटिकली उसका तो फॉर्मेट दे देगा। तो ये होता है चैटबॉट। इसी तरह ये तो था, ये आपका ना टेक्स्ट वाला ना चैट बॉट कि आपके साथ वो ना चैट कर रहा है, पीछे कोई अभी ह्यूमन नहीं है। इसी तरह तो वॉइस वाले ना चैट बॉट्स होते हैं, जैसे आपके के एप्पल फोन में सीरी है या फिर एलेक्सा है। दीज आर ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ अ चैट बॉट कि आप उनसे बात कर रहे हैं, आप उनको बोल रहे हैं कि भाई ऐसा करो वैसा करो, तो वो आपको ना जवाब दे रहे हैं। तो ये होते हैं चैटबॉट्स हु वर्क, जो 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 इनका आधार रहेगा वो वो अपना जेन एआई या फिर एआई मॉडल्स हो सकते हैं, और इट कैन बी सिंपल टेक्नोलॉजी ऑल्सो। तो ये है डिफरेंस एलएलएम में और चैटबॉट्स।
तो ये चैटबॉट तो मेटा वाले ने तो अलग बना रखा है,
हाँ
और
सर सब।
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने अलग बना लिया, गूगल ने अलग बना लिया, और
हाँ
इंक्लूड अलग है। तो कई तरह के चैट बॉक्स बन गए अब।
सर, ये ना
और
चैटबॉट्स नहीं है जो जो आप बोल रहे हैं, ये सबके मतलब एलएलएम मॉडल्स हैं। जैसे कि
एलएलएम।
हाँ ना माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का ने जो तो ये जो अपने चैट जीपीटी को ना खरीद लिया है। इसी तरह ना गूगल का कि अपना जेमिनी है जो नाम से आ गया है, पहले उसका बार्ड नाम से था। तो ऐसे हर एक मतलब सब जो बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज अपना अपना कोई एक नाम लेके आ रही हैं उस
इंडिया ने भी तो
मॉडल।
डेवलप किया है, तो इंडियंस ने भी कुछ किया है इसमें।
इंडिया, हाँ सर सर राइट। तो एक सर अब तो ये तो अभी इंडियन गवर्नमेंट भी आ रही है लेके, और मतलब इसमें भी अपने यहाँ से तो काफ़ी सारे स्टार्टअप्स ने अपना अपना किया है लॉन्च। तो काम तो सर इस पे बहुत हो रहा है।
तो सर ये जीपीयू जो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ला रही है, कुछ एजेंट्स वगैरह, ये भी कुछ इश्यूज है अपने।
जीपीयू, सॉरी सर क्या?
जीपीयू गवर्नमेंट कह रही है ना सब, जो जो जीपीयू है उनको,
हम्म।
उनकी हेल्प लेकर के कुछ करेंगे।
सर अभी
जीपीयू
तो वो इनिशियल स्टेज पे ही है, अभी उस पर ज़्यादा काम नहीं हुआ है।
ग्राफिक
बट
प्रोसेसिंग ग्राफिक प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट जो है, उसको कुछ गवर्नमेंट ने 15,000 करोड़ का किया है, और उनकी
राइट
वो हायर करके कुछ करने वाला है, इस तरह का
सर,
है।
वही है ना कि वो एलएलएम्स को ना प्रोसेस करने में बहुत ज़्यादा पावर लगती है, बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्टिंग आती है। तो उसके लिए पहले इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बिल्डअप करना पड़ता है, और मतलब उसके लिए तो काफ़ी डेवलपमेंट एफर्ट भी चाहिए। इट्स नॉट दैट इजी।
अभी अब जो हम सुन रहे हैं ये सब आरी पावर, डाटा सेंटर को इतना पावर चाहिए, ये चाहिए, वो क्या, थोड़ा सा
हाँ
उसको बता सकेंगे?
सर।
डेटा सेंटर का जो, कि इतने
हाँ
डेटा सेंटर आ रहे हैं, 100 डेटा सेंटर आ जाएंगे, रिलायंस भी लग रहा है, अडानी भी लग रहा है, सब लोग डेटा सेंटर बनाने में लग रहे हैं। तो वो
राइट।
डेटा सेंटर फाइनली इट इज फॉर द एआई, दे आर क्रिएटिंग अ डेटा सेंटर।
हाँ सर बिल्कुल, अभी ये जो आप जो इंक्रीज डिमांड ऑफ डेटा सेंटर्स देख रहे हैं, या फिर ये जो ना चिप्स के बिना डिमांड देख रहे हैं कि आप, तो फॉर एग्जांपल यूएस में जो कि एन जो जो अपना
एनवीडिया एनवीडिया जो है।
बिल्कुल जितने भी चिप मेकिंग कंपनीज हैं, जैसे कि एनवीडिया, इंटेल वगैरह के स्टॉक जूम हो रहे हैं, इन सब के पीछे जो ये ना जेन एआई रेवोल्यूशन ही है कि जैसे जैसे जेन एआई की एप्लीकेशंस बढ़ेंगी तो उतनी ही पावर की वो होगी डिमांड। फॉर एग्जांपल कंप्यूटेशनल पावर, तो इसका मतलब डेटा सेंटर्स चाहिए, और उतनी ही आपको चिप्स वगैरह चाहिए विच विल बी वेरी वेरी हाई पावर, और उसमें जीपीयूज लगेंगी उतनी हाई पावर की। तो इसके लिए फिर वो उसके एंटिसिपेशन में ये सारे स्टॉक प्राइसेस भाग रहे हैं।
हम तो अखबारों में देखते हैं रोज एक आर्टिकल एआई और जनरेटिव एआई पे आता है, पर
बिल्कुल।
बहुत कुछ आज चीजें पता चलने से अब पढ़ने में इंटरेस्ट रहेगा कि भाई आखिर होता क्या है, क्या स्किलिंग, क्या आप स्केलिंग करते हैं, क्या मेंटेनेंस अफेयर्स है, क्या सारे अफेयर्स हैं। आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह एक्सप्लेन किया। सो नाइस ऑफ यू, यू केम एंड एक्सप्लेन एवरीथिंग। इट्स जस्ट वंडरफुल व्यू। मेरे ख्याल से आपको हमारी समता पावर की ओर से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने समय उनसे व्यक्तिगत रूप से काम मिलना होता है, मेरे से बात कर लेना। तो बहुत ही आपका धन्यवाद। आपने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से पूरा एक वो दिया। और आज की जो प्रेजेंटेशन है उसका अगर कोई हमको वो वीडियो वगैरह, वैसे तो उसका हमने रिकॉर्डिंग किया है,
रिकॉर्ड कर लिया आपने, हाँ, बिल्कुल।
लिया तो कोई दिक्कत
हाँ सर।
नहीं। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू फॉर योर कमिंग।
थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर योर पेशेंट लिसनिंग। तो मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप सबको कोई
You are
ये
such a highly educated gold medalist from in IIM. It's a wonderful. I never knew that you are gold medalist. बोलिया जी को बहुत धन्यवाद। बोलिया जी, आप धन्यवाद देने के लिए आपको रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे। बोलिया जी।
हाँ हाँ, समता पावर ने आज जो ये वेबिनार रखी है उसमें शुरू में आधा घंटा हमने उनको लघु उद्योग भारती को रखा था, भाई वो उनके जो इंडस्ट्रीज की प्रॉब्लम है उसको वो कुछ बता पाए। वो लोग कुछ जुड़े पर ज्यादा समय पे नहीं जुड़ पाए। खैर पर आज अपने इन्होंने जैन साहब ने जो बहुत आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस जो करंट टॉपिक है और लगातार उसमें टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट हो रहे हैं, उस पर बहुत सरल भाषा में, इतना बहुत हाईली टेक्निकल सब्जेक्ट है, बहुत सरल भाषा में इन्होंने पूरा समझाया। और क्वेश्चन के आंसर भी बहुत सिंपल सरल भाषा में दिए, जो हम लोग बाकी लोग सारे लोग, कुछ टेक्निकल भी हैं कुछ नॉन टेक्निकल भी हैं इनमें, पर वो लोग भी सरल भाषा में समझ पाए। और आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का सभी सेक्टर्स में काम आएगा, उसमें
बिल्कुल।
अपन ज़्यादा ज़्यादा काम ले पाएंगे। इसके लिए इतनी अच्छी जानकारी देने के लिए शुभम जैन साहब को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आभार। आशा है आप आगे भी हमें कभी जरूरत पड़े तो इसी तरह आप जुड़ें और
जी
हमें नवीनतम टेक्नोलॉजी का फायदा दें। और इस वेबिनार में जो भी लोग जुड़े हैं सारे साथी, उनको उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप इस तरह वेबिनार जुड़े और आगे से आगे में सहयोग देते रहे। धन्यवाद।
ठीक। ठीक है,
थैंक
धन्यवाद
यू,
अगर
थैंक यू वंस अगेन, थैंक यू। बोलिए ये वो है क्या लघु उद्योग भारती वाले
नहीं
कुछ लोग
ज्यादा
हैं?
नहीं है, दो तीन लोग जुड़े थे, पर वो भी
अच्छा,
कोई सिग्नल नहीं मिला, कोई नहीं मिला तो वापस बाहर हो गए।
चलिए ठीक है।
अभी
तो
बोल दो एक बार, कोई मान लो जुड़ा हो और कुछ बोलना चाहे तो।
लघु उद्योग भारती से कोई है तो कोई अगर उनके क्वेश्चंस हो तो बताएं सर। लघु उद्योग भारती से कोई है सर? मेरे ख्याल से लघु उद्योग भारती के नहीं है।
वो
तो
पहले राजेश गुप्ता वैश्य और वो जुड़े थे, जो इनके लघु उद्योग भारती की विद्युत समिति के प्रभारी हैं, पर वो भी कहीं ट्रेवल कर रहे थे तो रास्ते में कुछ टाइम जुड़े, फिर वापस सिग्नल नहीं मिले तो आउट हो गए वो। और
we
भी
will
दो
take
एक दो लोग जुड़े थे पर निकल गए वो, तो वो
we
बाद
will
में अलग
discuss,
रखना पड़ेगा लगता है।
we will take some other time। आज की हमारे वेबिनार को बंद करते हैं, समाप्त करते हैं। आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, धन्यवाद। वी एंड अप द मीटिंग। आप बोलेंगे कुछ? आप कुछ कहेंगे? कमांडर साहब कुछ कहना चाहते हैं? कुछ नहीं कहना, नहीं कह दीजिए, बोल दीजिए। मेरा कहना है कि शुभम जी का जो घर पे बिजली आती है जिस सब स्टेशन पे और जिस सब डिवीजन से, उसको ये विजिट करके और कुछ आइडिया दे सकते हैं कि इनका एआई जो है उनका हालात बदलने में क्या मदद कर सकता है। ये अपन पर्सनली चल करके उनसे बात कर सकते हैं। Yes, we can talk. अभी तो वो निकल गए हैं।
हाँ नहीं वो निकल गए, लेकिन मेरा तो पॉइंट ये है कि हमारे झाड़ू पोंछे नहीं लग रहे हैं दफ्तरों में, आप एआई पे बात कर रहे हो।
बात तो सारी करनी पड़ेगी।